By heaven, I saw my handkerchief in his hand. O perjured woman, thou dost stone my heart, and maketh me call what I intend to do a murder, which I thought a sacrifice. He found it. You never gave it him. Let him confess the truth. He had confessed that he hath used thee. How? Unlawfully. True, he will not say so. Honest Iago hath taken order for it. Yes, he is dead. Had all his hairs their lives, my great revenge had stomach for them all. He betrayed, and you undone. Outstrip it! Weepest thou for him to my feet? Thou strip it! Kill you tomorrow and let you live tonight. Nay, try. Nay, not an hour. Half an hour. Now! Be done. There's no pause. Othello by William Shakespeare. We are all murderers, you and me. Murderers of time, that beautiful, delicate creature we cherish so much. We kill our whole lives. We live in jealous fear of someone taking our dear time. But we are the ones. We kill her. Down, trumpet, precious time. Kill you tomorrow, you say, but let you live tonight. Nay, not an hour, nor in half an hour. Now, being done, there is no pause. In reality, time without pause is all we have. But in the end, she is still not ours, because she will always abandon us for another, younger one to whom she can surrender, who will in time also be abandoned. Hello, everyone. I greet you in your own Polish tongue. Dobre wieczór. Miły mici Poznak. Nazywam się Ira Aldridge. Or in English, I would say, good evening. Pleased to meet you. My name is Ira Aldridge. Now, let's try it again from the very beginning. I say, you repeat. Dobre wieczór. Good evening. Miwi Michi Poznak. Pleased to meet you. Nazia Vamshir Ira Aldridge. My name is Ira Aldridge. Dobre Vitua. Give yourselves a hand. And so, we have come to the end in speaking in the Polish tongue, though I believe I heard a few other names inserted other than mine. Translator, please. From this point, I have no more of your tongue left to give. My teeth, jowls, and gums are all that remain, and they are all in English, or rather American, more to the point, African. I am so delighted to be back in Poland, especially here in Łódź, your proud city of 35,000 citizens, and to the textile cultural capital of Poland. Give yourselves a hand. This is my fourth Polish engagement since 1854. You have been a wonderful audience each and every time I've been here. The accommodations you have provided for me and my family at the Paradise Hotel are superlative as always. Tonight's gathering is a special prelude to tomorrow's performance and a chance to know something about me, the African Rocious, your humble servant. However, tonight's gathering is not just for Ira Aldridge, but for all of those who crossed that middle passage in slave ships and resisted, and to the Polish people still resisting today. August 7th, 1867. Nawanusti nashie irasho, for our freedom and yours. Yes, I am Ira Aldridge, proud descendant of royalty, the child of Daniel and Lorona Aldridge, from the Fula tribe in Senegal. I am also known as the African Tragedian, or the African Rocious, a name given to me by the press, African for obvious reasons. Rocious being the name of a great Roman actor of comedy as well as tragedy, who lived almost 2,000 years ago. I, on the other hand, was born in 1807, the same year Napoleon Bonaparte created your Duchy of Warsaw Treaty and the promise of true independence and the unification of the Polish people. It is also that same year, in 1807, that there came into being the act prohibiting the importation of slaves. It is little wonder that my spirit and that of the Polish people are closely aligned. 1807. 1807. In reality, we know that the importation of slavery need not stop until later, much later. The last slave ship to return to the United States with this precious cargo was the schooner Clotilda, July 7, 1860, under the command of Captain William Foster. From this vile vessel, my wretched kinsmen and women disembarked in Mobile Bay, Alabama. The battered bondsman numbered about 160. Fearful of criminal charges, Captain Foster arrived in the port at night and transferred his cargo to a riverboat, then burned the Clotilda before sinking it. The time is out of joint, O cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right. Hamlet, that ever I was born to set it right. That, my dear people, is my intention, to set it right. Zavanusti nashie irasho, for our freedom and yours. purchase my straw. Well known for selling straw throughout the streets of New York, my father, Daniel Aldridge, was born in 1772. His true occupation was a minister of the gospel. So if I invoke the Almighty from time to time, know that it is who I am, my persona, my inheritance. Yes, my life as a minister of the gospel was well charted by my father. But the course of true love never did run smooth. Midsummer Night's Dream. The ministry of the gospel was not my true love, at least not in that particular form. Yet, what are actors but ministers, preachers, and prophets? In ancient Greece, the very first actor, Thespis, was a priest. It is my hope that whenever I am on the stage, I assume my priestly duties by preaching the truth. My word is truth. And I believe the very best drama echoes truth. Shall we look at Shakespeare's Hamlet? 10 commandments are taught. Thou shalt not kill, steal, commit adultery. Thou shalt not honor. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother. They're all there. And the consequences of breaking them are also taught. Even Hamlet's own father suffered in hell because of his transgressions. Now, you can understand why I was so attracted to the stage. So then, what's the difference between the two callings? About 100 years ago, on a certain occasion, Thomas Betterton, celebrated actor, was dining with Dr. Sheldon, Archbishop of Canterbury. Archbishop said to his guest, "Pray, Mr. Betterton, tell me why is it you actors affect your audiences so powerfully by speaking things in the imaginary?" "My lord," replied somewhat portly Betterton, "with due submission to your grace, permit me to say, the reason is plain. We on the stage speak of things imaginary as though they were real, as you in the pulpit speak of things real as if they were imaginary." So, at the age of 14, in an attempt to educate me to speak of things real as though they were real, my father sent me to African Free School, founded November 2nd, 1787, by the New York Manumission Society. This organization was founded to free children and with the special purpose of, and I quote, opening the avenues to a gratuitous education to the descendants of an injured race. The curriculum consisted of reading, writing, arithmetic, geography, and even astronomy. Not only were these schools open to free children, but to children who could get permission from their masters to attend. Some graduates whose futures shined brightly were Dr. James McCune Smith. He was an American physician, abolitionist, apothecary, and author. He was also the first African American to hold a medical degree and graduate at the top of his class at the University of Glasgow, Scotland. He was also the first African American to run a pharmacy in the United States. Another graduate of the African Free School was Henry Highland Garnett. At the age of 10, his parents and 10 other family members received permission to attend a funeral. However, they forgot to tell their masters that the funeral in reality was for their own slavery, which they killed by escaping. Garnett eventually became an abolitionist, and minister, an educator, and an orator. He urged Negroes to take action and to claim their own destinies. He even supported the immigration of American freed blacks to Mexico, Liberia, and the West Indies. Out of the thousands of children who received an education at the African Free School, these were two examples of those who studied at such schools as Dartmouth, Princeton, and Columbia. John Petard, founder of the New York Historical Society, praised the school for turning out prodigies of genius. Another prodigy of a different sort was Joe Prince, master of pugilism. Till this day, I don't know what the circumstances were that thrust us into mortal combat at the corner of Select and Hester. All I remember is that he was large for his age and so was I, and how the blows rained down for what seemed to be like hours as the crowd cheered us both on until we were both blinded and battered by the blood and sweat. The outcome, a Pyrrhic victory that left both of us so bruised that even the victor suffered defeat. Men must endure. And so must the boys who will become men.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home.
After my mother's death in 1818, my father remarried about 3 years later. Dissatisfied with my family's accommodations, but in need of money, I shipped off on a brig and sailed south. Ended up in the port, North Carolina. Mighty fine young buck you got there, Henry. I will give you $400 for him right there. Damn it, Henry, I will give you $500 and not a penny more. And nobody back in New York will be the wiser. As a man who has respect and dignity for another man, and more importantly, a Christian, Lucian, I must refuse your offer and any other offer, no matter the amount, because this boy has trusted to my honor to return him to New York, his place of residence, and I might add, his freedom. We may entertain angels unaware. Hebrews 13:2. My God, what an angel. One who valued my freedom as well as his. And what is freedom? But time to do with as you see fit. Shortly after I returned home, my brother Joshua and I began frequenting our time at the theater. Noble Brutus hath told you that Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered. here under lever Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man. So, are they all honorable men? And the name of this play is Julius Caesar. And the author, none other than William Shakespeare. Main commandment broken. Thou shalt not kill. Oh, and speaking of Brutus, these were exciting times for American theater, and Junius Brutus Booth was one of the most exciting actors of the day. From the crow's nest, my brother Joshua and I could see Booth and other extraordinary gifted actors of the day perform. Actors like William Wallack and Edmund Kean, a great rival of Junius Brutus Booth, named after Brutus, famed assassin of Emperor Julius Caesar. I might add that Mr. Booth was also the father of actor John Wilkes Booth, famed assassin of Abraham Lincoln. And I might add that Mr. Junius Brutus Booth was also the would-be assassin of President Andrew Jackson. You don't believe me? To President Andrew Jackson, from Junius Brutus Booth, Brown's Hotel, Philadelphia, July 4th, 1835. You damn scoundrel. If you don't sign the pardon of your fellow men now, under sentence of death for piracy under De Soto, I will cut your throat. While you are sleeping, I will have your body burned at the stake in the city of Washington. I have wrote you repeated cautions, so look out or damn you. Your master, Junius Brutus Booth. You know me. Look out! Obviously, the boot doesn't fall far from the tree. Yes, exciting times. And about to graduate from school, what could be more exciting to a 15-year-old boy than this? James Hewlett, vocalist and Shakespeare's proud representative, will give an entertainment and singing and acting in the large room in the United States Hotel. Mr. Brown has spared neither time nor expense in rendering this entertainment agreeable to the ladies and gentlemen of color. I couldn't believe my eyes. Negroes performing Shakespeare. Now, James Hewlett was a West Indian mulatto and was as fine an actor as any that had stepped on the stage. William Henry Brown, whose first experiment was the successful tea garden for Negroes where they came out on the weekend in their finery. Men sported their shiny boots and fashionably cut blue coats. Women strutted their pink kid slippers, beautiful stockings, and swirling parasols. They made a regal pair, strolling about, laughing, eating ice cream, sitting about, drinking tea, listening to serenades. And other amusement included plays. Soon, the tea garden became so popular and lucrative that Mr. Hewlett joined forces to turn the tea garden into a theater called the African Grove. which in 1821 became the first Negro theater in the United States. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these farewell spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. The play, Richard III, with the African Grove Theater, came the very first time to see Negro actors strut on stage in roles like Julius Caesar, Macbeth, and Richard III. I was so enamored, but it was not so with my father. Once he discovered that Joshua and I was frequenting this new Negro theater, he came and got us. Ira! Joshua, did I not tell you to stay away from that den of iniquity? It is by no means godly entertainment and will lead to nothing but hell and destruction for you first. Because you know better, and for those on stage because they cause others to err, I simply forbid you to return. If you want to do something more constructive, attend to your stepmother and the work she has here at the house. Though not independent in finances, I was still quite independent in spirit. And despite my father's wishes, or because of them, I continued to attend shows at the African Grove Theater, and it was there that I too became an actor. Go hence and have more talk of these sad things. Some shall be pardoned and some punished. For never was a story more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. Correct. And it was that lovesick lad that I played at the tender age of 17 at our Negro Theater. Soon, whites began to attend, since there was no mixed seating for races. Eventually, a portion of the theater was set aside for whites. Many who came to jeer and poke fun eventually stayed and enjoyed. Unfortunately, the popularity of the theater rivaled both the popularity and, more importantly, purse of the park. Soon the owners, with the assistance of the police, waged full assault on the company. Every time there was a riot, the theater had to find a new home. In one instance, in the middle of Richard III, actors were arrested and taken to jail. In another instance, in the middle of Richard III, I, along with several members of the theater, including Mr. Brown, the owner, were assaulted by a mob, egged on by one Sheriff Noah, a constable, a newspaper reporter, and a great patron of the Park Theater. This mob included a clown by the name of James Belmont, a real circus clown on tour in New York, no doubt put up to his detestable deeds by Sheriff Noah, pummeled to the pavement by this pugilistic Polly Archie. Both Mr. Brown and I filed suit against Mr. Belmont, but nothing ever became of it. Men must endure. Both Mr. Brown and Hewlett did endure until the very end. Not going gently into the night, their last production was King Shot Away, written by Mr. Brown. It was about a Negro insurrection in the West Indies. Hewlett played King Shot Away. Apparently, this production was the last straw for those enemies of the African Grove, making King Shot Away, if you will, the last shot fired from the theater. Ironically, as the Negro theater was coming to an end in 1823, a new form of theater was making its debut. White actor Edwin Forrest represented on the stage the Southern plantation Negro, with all of his perceived peculiarities of dress, accent, dialect, and manners. This form of theater was the minstrel show. Adding insult to injury, several years later, Thomas Dartmouth Rice created the character Jim Crow, based on a slave he represented by singing and shuffling to a plantation song. Wheel about, turn about, and do jig-so. Every time I wheel about, I jump Jim Crow. Wheel about, turn around, and do jig-so. As a result of these farces, the real Negro performer in America, such as myself, were forced out to make way for white, black-faced minstrel. Oddly enough, as Booth and King were fleeing Britain for on-stage opportunities in America, I, on the other hand, felt the need to flee America. For Britain, it was either flee or to commit murder. The victim being my precious time. Even at such a young age, I knew that time would never be mine forever. So I had to treasure each moment with her. So, in the year of 1824, at the age of 17, I arrived in Liverpool, England. Once the center of that country's slave trade, I had not much money in my purse, but I did have a letter from the great English actor James Wallack. For a short period of time, I attended the university in theology, more out of duty to my father, but it was not to my liking. However, thanks to the Wallack letter, a great deal of persistence and more than a fair amount of luck, I, at the age of 18, landed my very first role at the Coburg Theatre in London at the year of 1825 in the role of Arunico in the Revolt of Suriname, subtitled A Slave's Revenge. Instead of my skin color working against me, it was the converse, for I represented a people fighting for equality and basic rights, much like the common Britain, who were becoming more trade unionists, more class conscious, and more socially militant in the face of class. The anti-Negroid sentiment of the press and pro-slavery sentiment in some circles, however, were a different matter. The result, mixed reviews of my performance, much owing to their first witnessing a genuine nigger. A description recorded by Charles Matthew, a leading actor of the day. The Globe, October 11th.
The Globe, October 11th. We repaired to the house in full expectation of beholding a mere burlesque of tragedy, and were therefore not a little surprised to find an actor of real and undoubted talent. His enunciation is distinct and sonorous, though his voice is deficient in modulation and flexibility. Features appear too hard and firm to admit of outwardly exhibiting the darker passions and most embittered sufferings of the heart. He looks his character. The Drama, November 1825. Finally, they have a real bona fide black man, and he plays tragedy. He was indeed a black draught to us. Still, there are worse actors. He is tall and tolerably well proportioned. His features are not very Negroish. His action is not ungraceful, but altogether unmeaning. His voice is weak, so is his conception. Theatrical, we suspect, will never be profitable to him.
Never be profitable.
After this one.
Apparently, the audiences at the Coburg Theater was not as disappointed as these critics, because the Coburg Playbill announced my continuance of my engagement for another 4 weeks. It was during my Coburg engagement that I met my Margaret Guild, a lady of fine accomplishment and great conversational talent. She was invited to a reception in my honor and was desirous to meet me. 6 weeks later, we were married. I 18, she 28. So you see, Shakespeare and I had more than just theater in common. When he married, he was 18 and Anne Hathaway was 26. Unlike Anne, my Margaret was not pregnant. Onward and upward. Or should I say outward and upward? Outward because for the next 7 years, I focused on performing in the outer provinces where the people and the press loved me. Provinces like Sheffield, Halifax, Manchester. What an apprenticeship. I was quite intense in studying and crafting my art, including my singing. Margaret, though in ill health most of our marriage, was quite the economist, with a head for business. And she was also my emotional support throughout my career. Soon, no longer an 18-year-old boy in training for theater, I became a professional in theater. My basic repertoire of material: Othello, Orunoko, The Slave, The Castle Spectre, Revenge and the Padlock, one of the best musical comedy entertainment of the time. I played the part of Mungo, the slave of an aging Don Diego, a West Indian planter who wants to marry Leonora, a young woman of great beauty and poor parents. Dear heart, what terrible life am I led? A dog has a better that's sheltered and fed. Day and night 'tis the same. My pain is digging. Me wish to the Lord that me was dead. In the padlock, Mungo has the task of keeping an eye on Leonora while Don Diego is away. However, to get even with Don Diego for the many beatings he has received, Mungo allows Leander, Leonora's younger lover, access into the house in Don Diego's absence. Mungo, though a slave, is no spineless fool. Despite the floggings from Don Diego, he is rebellious and quite vocal in his situation. We dance, we sing, till we make the house ring. And tied in his garter, oh, massa may swing. Monster, what you call me names for, you old dog? Yes, I raise my hand against you. Will you fight? Because of Mungo's trickery, Don Diego is outwitted and must surrender his love, Leonora, to the much younger Leander. July 27, 1833, the Cambian, Aldridge's parts, particularly Mungo, are perfect. December 2nd, 1827. I received my first official recognition. The government of the Republic of Haiti honored me, the first man of color in theater, in the commission in the Haitian Army, in the 17th Regiment of the Grenadier Guard. This honor came from a small island of former slaves who fought against the greatest military genius of the age, Napoleon, and won. My last performance before receiving this award was in Liverpool, England, at one time the center of that country's slave trade in the United Kingdom, where I had disembarked some 3 years prior. A penniless unknown, no doubt, would have been in the United States, would have been arrested if I dared share the stage with the white Iago, and lynched if I had the audacity to do the same with the natural Desdemona. In England, however, I had been satisfied that I had made my mark on the stage as an actor, director, and producer of note. But I was already looking to the future, for there were no more Negro roles available which interest me. If white minstrels, Edmund Forrest and Thomas Rice, can take up burnt cork, tar, and shoe polish to ridicule the black race, surely I can don white makeup, not to degrade any race, but to advance the theatrical arts that makes us all human, black, white, brown, and yellow. But I never covered my hands with makeup. A constant reminder to the audience that the actor in real life was a Negro. So, on April 3rd, 1832, at the age of 24, I made my very first appearance as Richard III, thereby becoming the first Negro actor to play white roles. But that was just the beginning. Lear, Hamlet, Macbeth eventually followed. Is this the dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible as to feelings, as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation of the heat oppressed brain? I see thee yet in form as now which palpable, as which now I draw. A bell rings. I go. And it is done. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. Life was wonderful. The provinces and the people loved me. They loved the realism which I brought to the stage that mirrored their everyday lives. As Othello, I would take Desdemona by her hair and drag her across the stage to the hisses and the boos of the audience. They love to hate me. But in the end, they loved me, turning their hate to Iago. Life couldn't be any better.
Rock-a-bye, baby, thy cradle is green. Father's a nobleman, mother's the queen, and Betty's the lady who wears a gold ring, and Johnny's the drummer, and drums for the king.
May 18th, 1847. My son, Ira Daniel Aldridge, was born. 7 years after the death of my father, for whom he was named. My lovely son. Little Daniel, as far as I was concerned, the sun rose and set on him. In him and all about him. All while on tour, I constantly thought of him and how badly I wanted to come home. To hold my dear sweet child whom I loved more than life itself. I was 37 years of age. Margaret, 47. though not the real mother. Mama was the only mother he knew or loved. The real mother? Matthew 12:50. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother, sister, and mother. Love is blind, but lovers cannot see the pretty follies that themselves commit, for if they could, Cupid himself would blush. Love is forever, but work is continuous. And the author of that line is none other than Aldridge. So I had to continue to work to feed my wife and new son. Touring the provinces was initially quite enjoyable, but after years of grueling work, the challenges, stresses, physical strain begin to take its toll. Though quite successful in touring, my burning desire was to get back to London, the irrefutable home of theater. But at the time, London's desire was not drama, and they was not in demand of me. So I had to try somewhere different. America, where slavery and racial hatred were still dominant, or tour a European continent where I had never been. I chose the latter. Prior to going, I visited Ireland with the same basic repertoire of material, and I was highly successful. Yes, the Irish loved me, no doubt, because they themselves, for over 200 years, had been subject to the atrocities and dehumanization of white slavery by their English neighbors. Under the leadership of Charles I and King James II. History is reluctant to record that from 1641 to 1652, that over 500,000 Irish were killed, and another 300 were sold as slaves. Yes, the Irish loved me because it was there that I also became a brother in the Freemason. Our other stops included Brussels, Moscow, Berlin, Budapest, Prague, Vienna, Versailles. Oh, and of course, Warsaw, Krakow, and Łódź, where I played to sold-out houses of nobility, the proletariat and the bourgeois. I shall never forget that after a performance in Versailles, a gentleman ran up to me enthusiastically, kissing my cheek, and said, JCRCR Negre, means I am black too. It was none other than Alexander Dumas, the author of The Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers. On another occasion in Cologne, when I grabbed the whitey Argo by the throat, one of the spectators shouted out, "Kill the villain, single him." Brought on by the general laughter of the audience, he rushed out saying, "Well, you just can't calmly listen to that actor.
He is
Yes.
handsome built,
I was
wide-shouldered and tall. His acting and mimicry in shattering scenes are incredible, and certainly no one has understood Othello as well as he.
After this Othello, it would be an anticlimax to have to see an ordinary Othello again.
Aldridge shows the most astonishing artistry, and his judgment and understanding reach their highest point. If he were Hamlet as he is Othello, then the Negra Ira Aldridge would, in my eyes, be not only the African Roscius, but the greatest of all actors. The Russian Herald. Before the ballad opera, he gave us Othello, and all of those who cried watching Aldridge Othello laughed to the very depths of their being at Aldridge Mungo. What truth! What unfeigned merriment! What a comedy!
After my overwhelming touring success, I decided to tour Europe again. Ira Daniel was away in school and in his teens, and quite the speaker himself. Margaret, she stayed home due to poor health and an unfortunate accident. Poor health alternated between the three of us on these tours. Unfortunately, Margaret got the worst of it, but not by much. I worry about Margaret and Ira all the time. My dear Margaret, you'll be happy to hear, dearest, that I have safely arrived here. Thank God, no seasickness. And the Baltic Sea being as smooth as a looking glass. And all the Swedish newspapers I was announced, it spread over the town like wildfire that I was here. And such a crowd assembled at the steamer. And now for yourself, my darling, and my very dear Ira. May both of you, God, protect, such is my daily prayer. I am anxiously awaiting a letter from home, and I beg for a long one. I wish to know how you are and how your cough is. Better, I hope. Kisses for you and him. I trust Ira as well. May God bless you both. Your loving Ira. Due to my overwhelming continental touring success, I was offered a West End engagement at the Lyceum Theatre in London.
Not only does the single artist pronounce our language distinctly and correctly, but with elocutional emphasis and propriety, and his general action is marked with elegance and ease. Another advantage Mr. Aldridge has is his sweetness and softness of his voice, which in the level tones is most pleasing and effective.
After 25 years, I decided to tour. Well, I had been brought back to London on my own terms. I was for once and for all to prove that the Black Rocious was equal to any of the best actors that ever graced the London stage. My last challenge was to tour the United States of America. Slavery and civil war had just about ended, and I believed that the climate was finally right for me to return home, the land that I loved, but did not love me.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
March 25th, 1864. Margaret went home to be with the Lord. Ira, whom she loved more than life itself, was at her bedside at her death. My dear, sweet understanding, much loved, much needed. You pushed me. You made me work hard. And now I have lost a dutiful wife and an astute business partner and an excellent mother to Ira and me. After a customary year of mourning, I picked myself up, and I had wed someone I had known for 7 years. It was the beautiful, sweet Amanda Pauline Van Brandt. Just 27 years my junior, and 12 years older than Ira Daniel. When she moved into Lorona, the house that Ira Daniel, Margaret, and I shared, she was accompanied by 3 others: Lorona, Ira Frederick Aloff, and Amanda. Our children, born while I was away on my European tour. Love is blind, but lovers cannot see the pretty follies that themselves commit. Dear Father, a letter from my elder son, Ira Daniel. I write to wish you congratulations on your new marriage, and to wish you and my stepmother every joy and happiness in your new relationship. I trust that you will find in Madame a true and loving wife, one who will fill the lonely void so recently left in your home and in your heart. I shall use my best endeavor to continue to deserve your love and strive to the utmost power to win that of my stepmother by deference to her wishes and brotherly kindness to her children. May you be long spared joy and ever increasing happiness is the most dutiful wish of your affectionate son, Ira Daniel Aldridge. Liar, hypocrite. From the very first time Amanda came into this house, you harbored nothing but ill will towards your stepmother and these innocent babes. You did not treat her with the love and respect you promised in your letter. Your wild, pleasure-loving ways has caused me to leave my tour in London to return to you to correct you in this manner. Your innately bad disposition is causing a tremendous hardship on our family life here. And it is taking a toll on your stepmother, which may be a hardship on her pregnancy. What? How dare you accuse me of deserting you and your mother on her deathbed? Men must endure. I am a man more sinned against than sinning. There are no words to express how disappointed I am in your arid ways. You leave me no choice but to send you away for amending this purpose. For on that depends on your hope of any future help from me. For I cannot place any confidence in what you say or promise. I will give you no money, but I will place that in care of others who will make arrangements for you for your journey post-haste. How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. King Lear, William Shakespeare. Shortly after that altercation, I returned to touring, only to discover he had not left London. Liar! I will make arrangements to have you shipped out immediately, and where it does not matter. My dear Amanda, you'll be happy to know that the weather is still warm here in Russia. But I have caught a bad cold. And now going back to Astrakhan to make the return journey before the cold weather sets in. I've played 6 times. I am more anxiously awaiting on a letter from home, my dearest Amanda. I am quite miserable and alone all the time. For the last 15 days, I've been unable to leave my room. I took ill, and on my arrival here was prostrate. I will write you in this letter I will send 20 pounds through Mr. Ray. I hope all is well with you. Kiss the children. And I remain affectionately yours, Ira Aldridge. May 9th, 1867. Diary. I arrived in Bologna, melancholy, very hoarse indeed. Reflection respecting my poor Ira. He left for Melbourne on this day 11 weeks ago. Oh, Ira. Oh, my dear, dear boy. Where are you, my child? Just come back home. Just come back home. All is forgiven. Men must endure. Home. Home had become my world. and the characters of my family, as well as the audiences to whom I presented them. No matter what nationality, what race, black, white, brown, or yellow, we come together to hear, know, to experience the truth. I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapon, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you and the rest, we will resemble you in that. Shylock, the Merchant of Venice. At the time, my sympathetic, humane portrayal of this Jewish merchant, seldom seen, if ever, by audiences in Europe or even America. British critics accused me of being in the league with the Jews, whose petition was being considered by Parliament for civil rights at the time. But on one Russian tour, a procession of Jews headed by a rabbi came by the theater. Thank you for your wonderful interpretation of Shylock, for it is the first time in Russian theater history that Shakespeare's Jew became a human being. As you can tell, I would not have exchanged my European experience for anything in the world, nor any other experience I have had since coming to your Eurasian shores, where I have received such honor as the Persian Gold Medal for Arts and Sciences, the gold cross of King Leopold, the Maltese cross from Bern, Switzerland, the medal from Ferdinand from Franz Joseph, and even while here, on your accepting and accommodating Eurasian shores, I received a commission in the Haitian Army, the only country in the Western Hemisphere to bestow such an honor on me. So, it is with great pleasure that I, Ira Aldridge, request your return to tomorrow night's performance. So I bid you farewell. Afterwards, on to my American tour. Until then, black my countenance, yet I shine before you in the light of my soul. And one day I shall go home to the South, and your graciousness shall burn like an altar in my heart. Thank you for coming out and learning something about the African Roshis, your humble servant. Men must endure